just has a generous heart, and did this wonderful Christmas event where she had reindeer and 150 bicycles and over 800 toys or some crazy thing, but all out of her own generosity. And you can catch them at www.wwdbam.com. Check out my past shows. Well, listen, it's my pleasure to sit here with a veteran. His name is Pete Freudenberger, and he is the outreach manager at the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Penn Medicine. Pete, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm really excited to be here.
All right. Well, listen, you have just got this wonderful clinic. Why don't you tell our listeners about it and what makes it special?
So what makes our clinic special is that we fill a lot of gaps in services that are not available to some veterans in the community. So we can see veterans that may have dishonorable or bad conduct discharges. We can also see individuals that have served in the PA National Guard or are currently serving in the National Guard, which is really great because there are a lot of gaps in services for those individuals. We can also see family members without the veteran present. So our services are very expansive and fill a lot of the holes that traditional veteran services in the past have not been able to fill for funding reasons or just the way kind of services have been designed over time for veterans.
And this is at no cost to the veteran or the veteran family member or the military person's family.
That's correct. So Stephen A. Cohen is a hedge fund investor, is very successful at that. He's actually also a graduate of Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania, and part of his mission was to use the resources that he had to make sure that veterans and their families had the support that they need. So what he did is he allocated $275 million of his own money to open these clinics across the United States. So we know that the need isn't just here in Pennsylvania. We have clinics in Texas. We have a clinic in North Carolina. We're opening in Denver and other locations across the United States and Florida to fill those gaps because they are nationwide gaps. They're not just local to Pennsylvania.
Right, and you were telling me during the break that his son served in the Marine Corps.
He did.
Came back without really any problems, but Steve Cohen recognized that was not true for everyone, and that a lot of our military were coming home and there was stresses that they had and that was the family and loved ones were enduring. And so he, as you just said, $275 million of his own. Listen, I'm keeping my $275 million in my piggy bank, but no. So he has $275 million. I don't have $275 million. And he generously put that out to open ultimately 20 of these clinics around the country.
So there's supposed to be 25 by the end.
25.
25
okay.
by the end of 2020. So right now we have, so there's the network is called Cohen Veterans Network. So that's the overarching organization that basically supervises and not so much manages, but basically oversees the clinics across the nation. So yeah, basically that's what their goal is.
Yeah, it's really amazing story. And so here in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania, the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic provides a high-quality integrated behavioral health care for veterans and or their family members in an independent private setting. What does that mean to our listeners?
So an independent private setting is much more of a, you would picture an outpatient doctor's office or a therapist's office where it's, we have some military-themed, patriotic type items in our waiting rooms and in the spaces, but it's not overwhelming. We want people to feel welcome. Some people don't want to come into a hospital environment, or they don't want to be, especially some of our women veterans. So we're seeing a lot of women veterans. Actually 40% of our clients have been women, either veterans or family members. So making sure that there's that warm, inviting environment where people feel safe, they feel like they're receiving high quality services. And we're really grateful to Penn Medicine that has partnered with us in allocating the space for this and
Right.
making sure that we're in an established building. We're in the Department of Psychiatry,
Right.
actually at 36th and Market, and just having that space has been great. So.
Yeah, well, certainly University of Pennsylvania, just a top-notch university and organization, doing so
Absolutely.
much to help Philadelphia and really people around the world. Now, when you talk about behavioral health care, so you're not doing everything. What is the primary focus of the service that you provide?
So the primary conditions that we're helping individuals with are anxiety, post-traumatic stress, depression, readjustment difficulties. Like I said before, we'll see individuals. We can also work with couples or their families as well. So looking at that family system is something that's really important to us as well. We can also see family members without the veteran actually coming in, which
Right.
is really turning the veteran service model on its head, because typically in most veteran-facing organizations right now, the veteran him or herself needs to be the center of the care plan, and then individuals can be seen kind of around that person. But in our clinic, if the veteran's not interested, the spouse, son, daughter, child, brother, sister, we're
Right.
very loose with the eligibility requirements. We're all about trying to eliminate barriers to care, which is hence the no cost. We assist people with transportation. We provide free parking. We can help with SEPTA regional.
Right.
Those are barriers, and that's also a benefit of having the benefactor that we do have in funding this, is that we have the resources to make sure that people are getting quality care without those stumbling blocks. So
Right.
that's been really critical, and it's been great to be a part of it.
So one of the scenarios that we could imagine is that there's someone who served in the Middle East. They come back, they believe they're fine. They get back with their family, their kids, and months later, as the stresses and pressures start to bear down on them, of adjusting back into the civilian world, and yet something is different, and something arises. They lost their job. There's other issues that are arising, and then let's say in this case it's a wife, and she's dealing with the children, and the children are upset, and there's stresses at home, and so now she is someone who on her own can go to the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic, and her children could go, and even she could bring young children with her. The veteran himself can go. They can go as a family. And let's say that this particular person has got a brother and a sister who are dealing with a mother who needs nursing care, and they're stressed out, and they're also dealing with the brother. It's disrupting the family, and so they can be eligible as well. Is that correct?
That's correct, absolutely. So actually right now 37% of our local clients here in Philadelphia are actually family members that fit that bill, that are basically individuals that are not the service member, and that's actually 43% nationwide, and all of the clinics combined.
Wow.
Are actually family members. So yeah, we understand that it's critical for that. When looking at taking treatment and looking at it in a systems approach, you can't. It's not always effective to just have the service member come in, have that individual get services, get some treatment, and then go back into the same environment without providing support to everybody else that's in that same environment. Because when that service member comes back, they're different, but the family members may not understand why they're different, what's happened, why is it, and they haven't had the time to process and to potentially come up with other coping mechanisms to support what that individual's gone through. So we've seen that that's very important. And yeah, that's one of the big access points.
Certainly the first time I've heard this type of service being offered at no cost,
Yes.
Because it's, as you said, the definition is very broad, and it's really to affect the foundation of where that veteran or military service person is in their own environment with their own family, people close to them that may be disrupted through this process, and now they're eligible to get high quality professional help as well.
That's correct. And one of the other things I want to point out as well is if we're not, so the conditions that I talked about earlier, if a veteran comes to us or a family member comes to us and there's a condition in the family that may be severe substance use or schizophrenia or some sort of other concern like that in the family, we may not be the appropriate resource, but we take great pride in our community partnerships and making sure that we connect someone with the appropriate resource. So we're not going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. O, you're not. We can't help you here.
Right.
Why don't you try X, Y, Z?" We have very well established partnerships that I can refer to if someone comes in. We have a case management team that has those resources kind of on speed dial, so that we can make sure that there's a smooth, warm transition, so that they get what they need. We're not leaving people out kind of disconnected, because a lot of times that veteran, when they do reach out, or that family member, that might have taken so much courage and so much energy for them to do that, and for there to be that disconnect, that could be the last time they ever ask anybody for help, and we don't want that to happen. So.
Right. Now, another thing that you do that others don't is you provide services to persons who have other than honorable discharges.
That's correct. Yeah, that's a big deal. So the VA is definitely starting to work with individuals more with different discharges. Other than honorable is something that the VA is definitely, and I applaud them. I think that's great. I think that's much needed support that a lot of individuals, because of maybe things that they saw in service or some sort of problem that's kind of developed after their service, after deployment, things like that. We don't want to, we as an organization, Cohen Veterans Network, and at the clinic here locally at Penn, realize that, hey, you raised your right hand, you swore to defend this country, something happened to create that discharge complication, and we want to look at that and make sure that just because that incident happened in your life doesn't mean you're not eligible, and that we as a society don't have an obligation to make sure that you have the care that you need to get better, because it doesn't help society, it doesn't help them, it doesn't help any of us if we just let people, we say, well, you did this, so you can never get any help. So we want to make sure that that's
Okay, excellent. Well, the other thing is that because you're a private organization, when you are meeting with the patients, the people come to you, that doesn't necessarily, that information doesn't go to the VA.
No, it does not. So Penn doesn't even have it. So we have a separate electronic medical record from the University of Pennsylvania, so we're not on Epic with the university. So it's actually so we do have a lot of individuals that seek our services that are health system employees, which is great, I think, because I think there is that also comfort level. There are a lot of veterans that work at Penn, and to have that so that it's not accessible to other Penn employees.
Yeah, great privacy. Where can people learn more about what you do?
So there's a couple different ways. So we're on the web. The web address is www.med.upenn.edu/MFC. You can email us at mfcinfo@upenn.edu. We're also on Twitter at MFCPenn, and we're on Facebook as well.
All right, well, Google Stephen A. Cohen Family Clinic, a military family clinic, and listen, join me next Tuesday in the Know with David O.